In fact, what is everyone saying? Sparking Zero, Sparking Zero. This game's gonna be
Yep.
dead when Sparking Zero comes out. Well, what do you think about anime games and the kind of hype cycle of anime games and the
Oh,
life cycle of anime games and what's going on there? Like, what's your opinion on that, including Storm games or other
uh,
games that you've seen?
I feel like when I think of the actual person, it comes down to what are their expectations?
Hmm.
Because everybody's expectation is going to be different in some way. Some people want a better net code. Some people just want a new game for their favorite franchise. It's always going to boil down to that. For some, it may not be a connection, like connectivity is not their number one thing. But if somebody truly wants to have fun with a game, they got to get what they want in short. I mean, but the thing that I don't like seeing is how people dismiss one person's expectation for their own. Let's say, for example, right? Sparking Zero comes out. I'm not trying to jinx Sparking Zero, by the way.
Yeah, no,
And
I hope it does well. I
the
hope it's a great game, and I hope everybody
right,
enjoys it. But yeah.
right. Let's say the connection or the network connectivity is just as inconsistent as connections is, and somebody shares their disappointment with the game due to that fact. People cannot bash that person for that because that is their expectation. I
That's true.
mean, like, of course they want something new, but what's the point in playing a game if the game is not consistent gameplay wise? I would rather have a game that has a good connection because it's not as enjoyable when you're playing someone and you're not having a fun match. Yeah, you could have fun gameplay, but it would suck to play a game that's fun, but it's not consistent in terms of connectivity. That would just suck. It would
Yeah, especially
absolutely
since in
suck.
that situation, one person would be having a lot more fun than the other person because they'd be getting some type of advantage in that connectivity, right?
In short, because like I said, everyone's expectation is different. And but to me, in order for a game to be fun, it's always great to have amazing gameplay mechanics. That's always dope. But you got to have a good connection too. I can't just sit there and say, "Oh, I'll just play the game offline." But what happens when you're done with all the offline content, right? What is there left online? And if the online is ass, that could shorten the lifespan of the game itself. You got to have a balance. You got to. That's the biggest problem with anime games that I've seen. It always comes down to, okay, what can you do when you're done with the story mode, right? In most cases, is mainly the online. Okay, is the online playable? If it's not playable, is going to be the last thing on your bucket list at that point. Because let's look at fighting games. For this is a very good example. A fighting game has to have amazing, an amazing online system
Yeah.
because fighting games thrive off of that. Everyone wants to play online when they're done with everything else. Because that's all you got. If the online doesn't work, oh, well, I guess I'm done with this and I got to move on to something else because it's not playable.
Which leads me to my next point, which maybe game cycles and life cycles in games are engineered because if a company is looking to buy or make a new game, and everybody they make a game that's so good that they're playing their last game and they don't buy their new game, the new game doesn't do as well. maybe there's some kind of manipulation there in one shape, form, or another, that they do things so that when the life cycle of one game is ending, they promote the next new thing, because that's where all the benefit is. Because I actually looked at this, like the stock value, the stock market value of Bandai Namco, and it conveniently spikes every time there's a new game, and then it plummets insanely down to the ground about, I don't know, 4 weeks to 6 weeks after the game. And then every time there's a new game, it spikes. So whether that game is Elden Ring
Hmm.
or or whether it's Naruto Storm or whether it's Sparking Zero, it could be that yes, they're providing support for this game, but it's just really just they're just kind of going through the motions and pretending, because they're not really actually fixing. Every patch, the game doesn't get better. Not really.
Oh, I see.
So they're doing stuff. They're providing, in quotes, support, right? They're giving people what they want in quotations. People are getting what they want, but the game isn't really much better. And even though it is better, that correlation is not corresponding with more people flooding back to the games, right?
Definitely
In
not.
fact, what is everyone saying? Sparking Zero, Sparking Zero. This game's going to be
Yep.
dead when Sparking Zero comes out. What do you think they were saying about Storm 4 when Connections was coming out? Storm 4 is going to be dead when Connections comes out. A lot of people were saying that. So, like, Jujutsu Kaisen, that was a blip
They
on the
said,
radar. It
yeah.
was such a
Eh,
bombshell that I didn't even notice it. Like, but you know what? The stock value of Bandai Namco shares went through the roof when Connections came up. It was released in November 17th, I think, 2023, and then it went back down over the course of the next month or two. And you just see that peak in that valley, like that mountain shape. And then Jujutsu Kaisen comes out, again, another peak all the way to the top, surpassing the last peak, maybe even, and then it goes back down. But the thing is, Jujutsu Kaisen didn't last as long. That
that didn't
cycle
last a
was
month.
like, yeah, like it was even less popular for not as long. But when it first came out, people went nuts. That hype was insane.
Yeah.
And now, like, especially with Akira Toriyama passing away, rest in peace, the legend, the GOAT, like that game,
Yeah.
people are not talking about it, but that game isn't just a new Dragon Ball game, right? It's not just hype because of that. It's not just hype for other reasons. It's also hype because he is no longer with us. So people, even though they're not articulating it, they are curious to see what will that be like now that he's gone. Also, they're more sensitive to
Hmm.
the Dragon Ball anime opposed to other animes, because we still have the
Yeah.
creator of Naruto. He's still alive, and he's still
Yep.
contributing. He just did recently, not that long ago, he did a brand new manga chapter for Minato, and people loved it. And that's the other thing. How are you gonna go and nerf the most beloved character in Naruto, the most popular character in Naruto? Nerf him into the ground twice. Not once, but twice. Like, good job. He's the most
Let
popular
me
character,
add
and it's
something
like,
to
no,
that.
make him so you can't play him.
You know what? Now that you bring that up, I'm gonna bring up an interesting thought about that. Especially based on what CC2 is currently doing for the game. I do feel like they're catering to, the fans as a last ditch effort.
Yeah,
But
it
at the
seems that
same
way.
time, I feel like whatever they're doing, I don't feel like it's they're listening to everybody. And
Okay.
the reason why I say this is I feel like that there's selective things that are actually being fixed or being reworked. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah,
I
no, no,
I feel
absolutely. Yeah,
that.
you don't have to get into specifics, but it does seem like things are selectively going one way over the other, in that certain people have more influence and other people have less influence, and they tend to be catering to certain individuals. And that would be fine if the reasoning behind the changes were valid, right? Or were more valid or made more sense than other changes. But like the arguments for
Yeah.
those changes are, there's really nothing there. Like there, if you had a list of what's important at the top, the most important thing, and at the bottom, the least important thing, a lot of these changes are in the middle of the road or at the bottom of the list, and we're not addressing the higher order items or the higher order important things, right? Like online connectivity, netcode, balanced move sets, invincibility glitches, getting kicked out of the game crashing, all these types of things, right? Oh, inviting friends. We didn't have inviting friends at the beginning of the game, and now lobbies are still kind of janky.